Well, are we ready to move into the demon media section?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess we've been dancing around it. Let's just go Let's for
jump
it.
all the way into the deep end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay, so we saw Hereditary, and Hereditary borrowed from a lot of horror movies.
That's brand new this weekend, right?
Yes, brand new. And Josh and I, both being horror fans, we have seen a lot of classic horror, a lot of horror in general.
Maybe too much.
Probably too
much.
Maybe. And so when we were watching this,
does that go back to you guys' SCAD days in college?
I don't know where it started.
we both. But the thing is, we both grew up with horror movies,
right.
and so that's part of the reason why we bonded. Is like, oh, you know what? You're into The Exorcist and Jaws and all this other stuff.
Definitely watched more in college than I have I've watched less and less as a youth. But in college, it was a pretty
lot.
constant.
Yeah.
Like everything.
Oh yeah,
every
we
release.
watched
we watched
a lot of stuff.
But we still do.
A lot of stuff.
But not as much as we did in college.
Yeah, and like Hereditary, we were both excited because it's like, oh, this is finally a horror movie that we would want to go see because most horror movies that come out now are trash.
Right.
Annabelle Creation. No, I'm never going to do that. Get out of my face. Trash.
Okay.
It's trash. Get out of here.
Excuse you.
That fucking doll.
You've done your rant on.
Get out of my face. It's for babies. This is like horror for babies. My first horror, spooky doll. It's like Goosebumps.
Baby's first horror.
Well,
baby's first horror, and I'm not baby. Okay, I need something a little more adult.
So was Hereditary adult then? Did it fit the niche?
Yes, I mean, yeah. It was trying very much to be intelligent. It was very much for an adult audience, which I appreciated. Oh. So, and I mean, there's wonderful things about it. Like, I think there's amazing performances. I think there's amazing imagery. There's
Toni Collette.
She's so good. She's so good.
The main actress I have not seen a trailer or a poster for
the thing is, let's back away from Hereditary because we don't want to get into spoiler zone. The thing is when we were watching it, we both, like, one thing going in is I saw somebody was saying, like, it's like The Exorcist, like they always do that.
It's like that was the marketing, this generation's Exorcist.
This generation's Exorcist. So I was like, well, that's kind of like a crazy name to evoke. Like, why would you throw The Exorcist down? I mean, now you really got to live up to something.
Well, and the other thing is, too, The Exorcist is always going to be in a class of its own because this man that wrote this believed this to be the truth. Like, he wasn't writing a scary story. Like,
he wasn't trying to make pop culture.
No, he wrote about his truth, and he had something he wanted to tell the world, and he thought was important, and he wrote it very honestly and beautifully, and it's really incredible. And it's never, I mean, unless someone else does that, I mean, you're never going to come close to that. So it's unfair to Hereditary to even say that.
I know, because
that's not what Hereditary is.
That is not what Hereditary is. Yeah. And it talks about...
So it's not The Exorcist for the millennial generation?
No. I would not say
They're
that.
not even... I could name 5 other movies that are more similar to Hereditary than The Exorcist.
So that's what I've heard about this movie, is it's very derivative of a bunch of different horror movies that are famous.
I would have said... I mean, it reminded me more of Rosemary's Baby instead of The Exorcist, because I was like, well, if you're going to cite something and you're just trying to use something that everyone's heard, name recognition, I would say Rosemary's Baby, but then you were like, no, they can't because it's Roman Polanski. And I was like, oh, that's why they didn't say
sucks.
that.
So Rosemary's Baby still has such a bad name because of Roman Polanski.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's been in the news a lot
He's been in the news a lot lately.
Yeah. They tried to extradite him last year. There was some other thing.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But we don't want to get into that.
Yeah, we don't want to.
That's not where we're going with this. But But then you were saying
it's unfortunate that every conversation about Rosemary Baby goes into that because it's such a great movie.
Yeah, but then when we were talking, Josh, the Donald Sutherland movie, it was like even more
Don't
like
Look Now. I feel like Don't Look Now is the most similar to in terms of like tone and like structure.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not tone, but structure.
Yeah.
Like structurally. So Don't Look Now, I think, is probably the most obscure movie we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
I would say probably there might be people that have heard about some of the movies we're going to talk about, but Don't Look Now is probably the most. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, that's not one that people
Don't
talk
Look
about.
Now.
Although it's always on lists, though. I see it on horror movie lists where like when top 100 horror movies, like it always pops up.
If you want, like, it's a real slow burn.
Yeah. It's not necessarily satifying for a modern audience. Like, it's very experimental.
It's gonna feel, if you're not used to watching, if you're used
70s,
to Hollywood movies, it's very much gonna feel like an art house film.
Yes.
Yes. But I think it's the editing in it. Did you watch it, Tyson?
No.
I told her when I saw it, I was like, you need to make Tyson watch this.
Yeah.
Because the editing in it and the way that they use sound is incredible, and it's so powerful.
Yeah,
and
it's on Netflix
there's
too, I think.
so much foreshadowing in it, which is something that happens in Hereditary. Everything that happens in Hereditary is foreshadowed.
Yes.
And that's how Don't Look Now is structured. From the beginning to the end of the ending of Don't Look Now is foreshadowed in the opening.
Yeah.
And Hereditary is structured the same way.
Yeah.
Bookends.
But it goes through the whole thing. Basically, everything that happens in Hereditary is foreshadowed before it happens.
Yeah.
Don't Look Now is the same way.
Yeah.
And Don't Look Now does it in a way that's very specific. Very specific.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to spoil these movies.
I know. Yeah, don't say
How about this? Did you guys both like it?
I Don't Look Now, I really enjoyed, but it's not going to be for everybody because, like I said, if you're used to Hollywood movies, it's very much going to feel like an art house film. Yeah. It's not a blood and guts.
So you don't recommend it for everybody then?
I would recommend it for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you should watch it just to get a taste of. If you're a horror aficionado,
you got to be in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't think you're gonna watch a thrill ride.
Yeah, this is not a thrill ride. Yeah, this is not that. This is like
I was
thrill
really,
a minute, like every Hollywood movie.
I had a night to myself. I watched Don't Look Now the first time that I saw it, and I watched it with like a bottle of wine, just alone, chill.
That's perfect.
Thinking I was like chilling
Put
out.
on a candle
whatever.
or something.
I was gonna watch like a scary movie or whatever. By the end of that movie, I was really kind of unnerved. Like I was like I felt kind of like out of my body.
Well, yeah, that's what that movie does, though. I mean, it just really like what's real and what's happening, and things are not adding. Like,
but here's the thing: like, don't go into Don't Look Now like, oh, I'm distracted. I'm going to be on my phone. I'm going to be doing something else. Like, just kind of take the time.
Well, I mean, that's bad movie watching altogether.
But but I mean, you know,
really take the time.
Really watch it.
Really watch it. If you
really watch everything.
But the movie is also like Rosemary's Baby more so than The Exorcist, in that there's like there's things about, you know, covens, like, or not covens, but maybe that's not really the right word, but brotherhoods, satanic brotherhoods, you know, betrayal involved, like things that are going on, like trying to summon people, all trying to summon something, put something, you know, in another body. There's like that whole thing, you know, going on. So there's a lot of this. Oh,
so that happens?
Yeah, and also this is about like a mother too. It's like Rosemary's Baby. It's about Rosemary, you see from her perspective, and like she's the mother. She's pregnant with the Antichrist or whatever, but she doesn't know it, you know. And she's been betrayed by her husband or neighbors who've all been in on this fucking thing, and she's had no idea, and she's an unwilling participant. But in this, it's like you have a mother. The whole movie isn't from her perspective like it is in Rosemary's Baby, which I think is one of the things that's kind of frustrating about this film. I mean, I get why it jumps around from perspectives, but I feel like maybe it could have been stronger if it stayed on one perspective potentially. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of things about it that I'd like to fix. It's so frustrating. The movie Hereditary is so frustrating because there's so many things I like about it, but there's other things that are just like real missed opportunities, and just missed connections, and things just didn't quite work out. But yeah, so I felt like it had a lot of this flavor in there, you know, where it's like,
well,
motherhood too is a big part of it. Like Toni Collette's character is like a mother, and like,
and we'll talk more
mother's
about
issues
that when we get into, because we're going to talk about Hereditary later.
Yeah.
Because if we say more about how it's Rosemary's Baby, what should we talk about Rosemary's Baby?
Well, yeah, I already said my piece. What do you want to say about Rosemary's like Baby in regards to Hereditary? Like, how do you?
Well.
Not even in regards to Hereditary, just in general.
Let's maybe you should talk about that, Tyson, because you might be able to.
Well, okay,
just from like artistic perspective.
Well, Rosemary's Baby is a fantastic movie. I mean, the first time I saw this, how about this? I'll tell you the first time I saw Rosemary's Baby. I was blown away by it.
And you wanted to go out and have a baby afterward? Did it make you like, I really want to have a kid now? You know, this is what I want
actually, he did talk about a storyline where in the future, if I get pregnant, you don't know if it's Satan's baby or alien baby.
Oh Lord!
Oh, don't give away the plot. But yes,
he does like he's inspired by this shit. Yeah, he's totally
been inspired by Rosemary's Baby. I mean, from a filmmaking point of view, it's fantastic. I mean, I think it was feels like it's almost ahead of its time compared to other movies from that time period.
It's just,
well, I think that's when cinema was really starting to change. Rosemary's Baby was made in the 60s, but it very much feels like, to me, like the 70s was like the greatest era of filmmaking ever.
Golden.
Like Rosemary's Baby
so
like freedom.
69,
so it was like right on the edge there.
On the cusp.
So,
and it was a little ahead of its time.
Yeah,
but I think it's part of like the herald of the
new era.
And then storytelling wise, just such a great story of suspense, because the first time you watch it, you're like, what? Where is this going?
What I love about it is it's so lean.
Yeah.
It's not. How long is it?
I don't know. Let me look.
It's not. It just feels so lean. Every single scene feels necessary.
Yeah.
Nothing.
136 minutes.
Well, that's the mark of good storytelling.
It's so
that's a good
lean.
Mark of good.
The other thing too is like, did you read the book?
No.
I did. I read the first. I think I read the first one. I can't remember if I read the second one or not.
Well,
but
the book is pretty much the movie.
It is. It's very similar.
Okay, I was going to ask that.
It's very similar. Yeah, it's like and it was very easy to read. You could read that in one day. I wouldn't say you could read The Exorcist one day, but I think you could read Rosemary's Baby in one day.
Yeah.
That was a breeze.
And it's like, to me, it's like Rosemary's Baby. It's like it's horrifying what happens. It's like, it's not, it's kind of it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it has like this cozy kind of campfire feel, and I think part of that is like the performances by
Mia Farrow,
but then also oh my gosh, Ruth Gordon.
Yeah.
It's like everything that she did. It's
so good,
so incredible. Like it adds so much warmth to it.
Yeah.
But you also get the thought, like you also totally believe her, like the warmth. But see, that's the thing what's seductive about her.
Wasn't Ruth Gordon? Didn't she win?
That's a good quality.
Didn't she win the Academy Award for this character?
Yeah. But that's what's so awesome about her. It's like she's this.
So good.
Are we going to spoil the movie? Do we need to worry about spoilers on a 50-year-old movie?
I know. No.
15%. Worry about them 15%.
There's a very seductive nature because it's like she's so warm.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not. It's like she's like a cool grandma.
Yeah,
you know what
she's
I mean? Like
so
someone
cool.
You definitely, like if she was your neighbor, you would want to make friends with her.
Right, you'd be like,
but you also kind of get that, like, well, maybe I should keep this lady at a distance.
Yeah, right.
So it's like you get both sides of that. Like there's something underlining that like makes you like think I should.
I feel like that's gonna be me when I'm older. I'm gonna be like her.
That's you now.
I know. We had it on in the background, and like she said some shit, and I just like started busting up laughing. Like I was just like, oh my god, she's so great.
Well, what
Mini Castavetes.
Yes.
Castavetes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very easy movie to find. I don't know if it's on streaming now, but you can get it.
I'm sure it's got to be streaming.
I checked recently. It's on Amazon Prime for a rental fee, whatever it is, but it's not on Netflix right now. It's been on there.
I think it's been
time
on
to
there
time.
before, yeah.
Sorry.
Also, such a good story of, I was about to say, betrayal.
Yeah.
But it is.
It is.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I love the husband's performance. And
so good. So good.
Man.
It's fucked up.
I'm just realizing right now how much you can't talk about without talking about it.
It's fucked up.
To spoil it.
But Hereditary definitely had some slices of this, but Hereditary also
borrowed a lot of the best bits of Rosemary's Baby. You could tell they were stitching them in there.
But also,
now you're making me want to see it.
Also,
Exorcist
III, baby. Exorcist III. Those a part in the movie. Yeah, here we go. Exorcist III. Dude, like, Exorcist III is so fucking good, and it definitely borrows like some of the best shit from Exorcist III.
Yeah, Hereditary borrowed a lot of the best.
Oh my
bits.
gosh.
Well, set pieces.
Yeah.
Definitely some set pieces that were borrowed from Exorcist III.
Right. And I was just like, I leaned over in the theater, I was like, Exorcist III did it.
Meanwhile, some bro was down the front row, like freaking out. There was some bro. That was losing his shit.
So funny. We had a real live audience though. I mean, we had like a live audience of people who were like ready to be scared,
Well,
and
that's the thing with a lot of movies and TV shows now. You can do something that's been done in the 70s or 80s, and like it's brand new to practically 90% of the audience.
It's very brand new to most people. Like, I mean, we were like, oh, we're fucking assholes. We're just like, cynics. We've seen everything.
Snobs.
But for the average man on the street, it's like,
it works.
I mean, this guy was just like, like
well, and I mean, I get it. You know, I mean, I kind of got it. It wasn't like it was unaffecting. I wouldn't say.
No, it was absolutely affecting.
But it was something that we had seen before, having seen Exorcist 3, and we kind of knew. You know, that kind of takes you out of the moment.
And then they did it too many times. Like they took this really powerful imagery, like idea, but then they did it like
they used it more than once.
They used it more than once. I was like, bitch, you can't use that more than once. Get the fuck out of here.
It didn't have the power the second.
Did not have. It's like, and why? It didn't even make sense the second time. It was just like this doesn't like. No. Just like a.
Let's talk a little bit about Exorcist 3 because this is a movie that.
And again, this is the movie that.
So this is a movie based on Legion.
This book that we were talking about earlier.
But Hollywood did interfere quite a bit. And they gave him a hard time. William Peter Blatty, the writer of The Exorcist, directed this movie.
Directed it. William Peter Blatty got in there.
But there was a lot of studio interference.
Yeah.
So his vision from the book didn't quite translate because...
Yeah, and it's a flawed film. You know, I really like it.
Yeah.
I really like it because the thing is, I got very complex relationships, you know, with my media, and like it's okay. Like nothing's perfect. Most things aren't perfect. If you only wanted perfect media, then like we'd barely have anything. Everything's got some flaw in it. And so, but the stuff that shines in this just really shines. You know, it's like it outshines the flaws for me personally. Right. And man, I mean, I think this is one of the movies that we bonded over, you know. For
real, because now it's kind of over the time, because what happened was there was an initial cut that the studio rejected, and they made him go back and reshoot it and give it a Hollywood ending with explosions and fire and everything
Father
else.
Mourning.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Father Mourning.
There was it was more of a slow burn kind of a movie. Mm-hmm. So it kind of, over the last 30 years... or nearly 30 years, kind of developed this kind of mythology around it. Like, where's the original cut of Exorcist?
Where's the original cut?
Where's the original cut?
I've heard about this. Okay.
Yeah. And then it was like, you know,
didn't some footage come out or something?
Well, what they said was like, it's gone. It's been destroyed, whatever. So like that was kind of the story for a long time.
Yeah.
A few years ago, they said, well, we found the work print. So they found the work print from like the dailies or whatever.
Yeah.
So Shout Factory actually compiled like the movie or the original cut of the movie using the dailies.
No, you watched this. We watched this because I bought this. I also have this Blu-ray.
Yeah,
and we watched it.
It's coming back to me. This was a long time ago.
And they cut it all in.
Right, and it was all like VHS looking.
So it's odd because it jumps between like really good quality to really
nice
the original
4K.
film to a VHS work print, and the work prints are what the editors work on, and it's just like all scratched up, like very low quality. Especially back then, they were editing on something that was like below VHS quality.
Yeah. So they pieced together the original director's cut as best they could with what's left.
Yes.
So what you have, it's kind of an odd viewing experience, but for fans of this movie, it's the best we're going to get. So like, it's okay.
So we're in.
And
at least you get to see some, idea of what it was like.
Yeah, and absolutely. You can kind of, it's interesting.
Do you think that this combination version is, a superior version to what ended up?
I don't know if I would say that.
It's hard to tell in this state. Yeah. It's really hard to tell in this state. But I would say I kind of understand why they got some pushback, because even the ending of this differs from the ending of the book. It's not even like what he did in film is not the same way the book ends. So
I would have liked to see, like, I wish that, and I'm sure there's a parallel universe where Friedkin, who directed Exorcist, if he, I mean, as much as if he had gotten a chance, because him and William Peter Blatty worked so well together. I mean, I don't know exactly their extent, but William Peter Blatty also wrote scripts and stuff like that. So I think he did write the script for Exorcist. Like, I think he was involved in the filmmaking aspect of Exorcist. So I would have loved to see them team back up and make Exorcist 3. That's like my fantasy, like, movie parallel universe. So if I ever like slide into another universe, be like, is this the one where Friedkin did Exorcist 3? Is what's his face? Is Napoleon here?
They tried. No, we have to. I want to point out.
So this version was made in 1990. Okay.
Yeah. Right. I want to point out that the Legion and Exorcist 3 are the same thing. People are like getting confused, but they're the same thing. Exorcist 3 was originally called Legion because it was based on the book,
but the studio
made them call it Exorcist 3
for obvious reasons. Yeah.
Because they were afraid that it wouldn't.
Nobody would see it.
But the thing is, probably no one saw it because it was called Exorcist 3, because Exorcist 2 was received so poorly.
Doomed either way you go.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, the thing is Legion was wrote in 83. Exorcist 3 came out in 1990.
Yeah.
There's kind of a funny anecdote about I guess Warner Brothers had, when they wanted a sequel to Exorcist so bad, they actually paid Blatty and Friedkin to do what they called was the $1 million lunch, is what it was referred to, where they paid them $1 million just to come to lunch, not even to like agree to do the movie, not to agree to write a script, not to do anything, like because they were both so opposed to doing a sequel.
Yeah,
they told Blatty and Friedkin, "We'll pay you $1 million just to have lunch, and we'll talk about it."
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Like, if we can come to an agreement on a sequel, we'll go forward.
That's intense.
So I think that's where Blatty was kind of bringing out like his ideas for what eventually would become. But like they were not about it. So like they had this lunch, they paid them the money, and nothing ever came of it. But the thing is like
Hollywood, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, they wanted it so badly, and they wanted to get the same team back.
Yeah.
But they couldn't
to any kind of
agreement. But it wasn't until many years later that he actually came out with Legion, which is honestly, as a sequel, it's fantastic.
I love it. I mean,
it's like it's not a repeat, but it borrows just enough from the first, like it continues it just enough, but it doesn't feel like a repeat at all.
Yeah, and like, okay, there's also amazing actors in this. George C. Scott, Brad Dourif. I love Brad Dourif. He is one of my favorite character actors. Like, he's one of my favorite actors. I think he's so underrated. Like, he's so amazing.
Incredible.
He gives an incredible performance in this. But not, okay, so here's the pitch, right? So Damien Karras, the Jesuit priest who who exorcised Reagan, the demons jumped into his body, and then at the end of Exorcist, and then he jumped out of her bedroom window and fell down those really intense stairs and died.
Yes.
Okay. So in this movie, did
the demons make him do that, or did he do that to get rid of the demons?
No, he did that to kill himself so he wouldn't have to be possessed.
Oh, because he knew he was possessed right away.
Yeah, he was like, I gotta get, and the demons are upset. Okay, they want to get their revenge for this. And so apparently, when Damien kind of starts to die, they like take this. There's this serial killer who these demons are in contact with on the other side of the world, who dies. Yeah, who dies. But then, as his soul is leaving, the demons make a pact with this serial killer's soul, and they slip him into Damien Karras's body and help to regenerate like his brain and like kind of bring him back to life. Like, he was on the cusp of death, but they bring him back to life. But now he's got this serial killer's fucking soul in him. But like, he's like so fucked up from the fall that like it takes him forever to regenerate his brain. So he's just been in a hospital, like just as a vegetable kind of guy who sits in a corner, you know. But then eventually he gets enough brain power to where he can start throwing himself into other patients, like weak old patients, and have them commit these murders and keep going in the pattern of the serial killer. And so Kinderman, who is the detective... That's got to be confusing the cops. So, yeah. So the cops, Kinderman, who investigated a case where a guy died, not Damien Karras, but another man had fell out Reagan's window and died, which Reagan probably pushed him. They didn't know she was possessed at that point, and she probably fucked his shit up. Like, that guy, Kinderman, he is like doing, you know, he's back and he's doing this stuff, and he knows all about the possession stuff. So I mean, he's kind of wise to things, to the spiritual world. He doesn't like shut it out necessarily, and he's very intelligent. The character of Kinderman he's such an amazing character in the book and in the movie.
Right.
I really love the character of Kinderman. He's so sick. And so he's on the case, and so he's like, oh shit, there's like this serial killer's like pattern, but then he's trying to figure out and prove that this dead serial killer is somehow alive. And then he knows Damien Karras, so he eventually finds this fucking bro who's, oh god, it's so insane, dude. It's like such a fucking crazy story. I love it. It's like nowhere else.
I would love to see a sequel where he explains this to a jury. Like, so this is what happened. So soul then went, you know.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. So.
And, you know, before we move on from the whole Exorcist thing, we should mention that there is kind of an intermediate novel, or there is an intermediate story between Exorcist III and the original Exorcist. And that's the Ninth Configuration.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this just got too complicated. Really?
No, we're just saying, like, if there's anyone out there that's really fans of, because that's even lesser known.
Right.
And it does have character. It has one. I know it has at least
the guy from the moon, the astronaut.
Yeah, the astronaut that's at the party.
The astronaut, the Exorcist.
Yeah. So if you remember the Exorcist movie and in the book,
yes,
there's the party at the house,
the Christmas party,
right, where they're all singing around the piano, and there's a man there, and Reagan says,
he's an astronaut.
You're gonna die up there.
Yeah, and he's supposed to go up.
And then she pees. That's the scene where she pees on the floor.
Yeah.
So that person that she says that to he's a major character in the ninth configuration.
Yes.
Which is,
Yes.
but it's not a direct sequel. It follows that particular character and what happens to him. But don't read it thinking it's going to be about Reagan.
No, and it's not demon stuff. It goes in a totally different direction.
Like, but what Reagan said kind of follows him. So like what she's talking about happens in the ninth configuration.
And he does slightly bring it up. They don't talk about it, but it is acknowledged.
Right. So there is kind of an intermediate story here too.
Yeah, and there's a William Peter Blatty also directed that movie. That was also turned into a movie. Although I think it's a lot less successful than Exorcist III. It's a lot less focused. It's a lot more experimental, but it was still a fascinating watch, and I own it. And
it's also on Blu-ray by Shout Factory.
Yes, which I own that. And I have the book. I think I actually have a signed copy of the book. After William Peter Blatty died, he died a couple years ago.
Yeah, pretty recently.
Pretty recently. And I went to the used bookstore, and I looked at his books, and I found one that he had signed, and I bought it in memory of William Peter Blatty when he died.
Oh.
Yeah.
How nice.
Right.
Nice. So going back to Hereditary, were there any other movies besides Rosemary Baby and all the Exorcist movies that this borrowed from?
Yeah, there's actually a lot. Okay, so
let's talk about
the Changeling. Another George C. Scott, from Exorcist III, George C. Scott to the Changeling, George C. Scott. Josh, take it away. The Changeling.
The Changeling is probably lesser known.
Yeah.
Lesser known movie.
You've seen this one, Tyson. It's the one where the old guy who's like in the haunted house, and he's like, "What the fuck's going on?" He's like pissed off all the time.
This is a ghost story. I'd say this is pretty firm.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So again, not wanting to spoil too much about it, but I mean, the main character suffers a pretty significant trauma.
Yes.
Early in the movie.
Yes.
Moves into a house.
Much like Hereditary, there's a trauma.
There's a trauma that occurs.
Yeah.
Moves into a house, and there's some strange things that happen there.
Yeah.
I will say about the Changeling that it has I'm a big fan of seance scenes in movies. We've talked about this before. I really like a good seance scene.
Yeah.
I think
this is one of the best ones.
I think the Changeling is one of the best seance scenes that I've seen in cinema. Like, it's really great. So if you're a fan of ghosts and seance scenes, it's another really slow burn.
And I mean, and there's some seance like scenes in Hereditary. So like they try to do some seance stuff. So
many films will frighten you, but only a few can really terrify you. The Changeling, an experience beyond total fear.
Any ectoplasm show up?
No, but that's in Hell House. I'm a fan of Hell House, and they have a scene where some ectoplasm shows up where they're doing a seance.
We've got some ectoplasm on the lens right here. Something's going on.
Oh gosh. Let's see here. There was here's a demon movie I could not find. I didn't even look for it, but I know I have the DVD of it somewhere. But this is one of my favorite demon possession movies, if we're just talking about demon possession movies.
Yeah.
976 Evil. I absolutely love it. I want to say like maybe Robert Englund directed it.
Was that
like
in the
Freddy
early
Krueger?
2000s? Was that early 2000s?
No. This is in the
90s?
80s, bro. This is like 80s AF. 80s as fuck.
Oh, 1988.
Yeah, and it's got, the reason why I found this film is because I was such a fan of Fright Night. Fright Night is my favorite horror movie. It is the horror movie that I've watched the most. I love it. I think it's a perfect horror film. And so there's an actor, Stephen Jeffries, who plays Evil Ed in that movie, and he's so phenomenal. I love the character of Evil Ed. I love this actor. He's such chaos. I love him. And so, I follow actors. I find these actors. I'm like, oh, I love them. They're like my little guys that I'm rooting for. And I try to find their other work. And so he was in this movie 976 Evil, and he's the main character. So it's like he's the lead in this film, which I'm like, yes. And he's just such a weird little guy. His name's Stephen Jeffries. Such a weird little guy. And so he plays this character where he's this really like kind of dorky kid who has a mom who's, have you ever seen this? You would fucking love this.
No,
oh my God. We're going to watch this. We're going to watch this, and like you're fucking going to flip your lid. He's with this like really Christian evangelical mom who's just like, boy, blah, blah, blah. And just like everything's like Christian frilly shit all around the house. And she's like super fucking bonkers. And he has this like cool cousin who lives across the way that's like, got a motorcycle or whatever. And he wants to be like this guy. But he finds this little horoscope thing where you call this 1-800 number for your horoscopes. Mm-hmm. And like, so he calls it, and it's like this demonic phone line. And like, it says like, tonight, the darkness of whatever. And it'll tell you something to do, and it'll give you some instructions, this little number. And so he starts doing these things to get, making pacts with this demon to get stuff that he wants. And he starts doing these things and they work. Mm-hmm. And so he keeps calling the number back until eventually he is taken over and possessed by a demon, becomes a crazy demon, and just like goes on a rampage. His whole house turns into hell. Mm-hmm. Like, I think he kills his mom. Like, goes bonkers. And I love the way the demon looks, because he's still wearing his like dorky sweater vest, but it's like he's all busted out of it, and like, and he gets this long hair, and he has these like nails and like these sunglasses on. And my favorite scene, okay, so there's all these fucking asshole thugs like who've been beating up on him, and like fucking putting his head in the toilet and being assholes. Because he's a dorky kid. Yeah. So they have this, like, above this movie theater that plays, like, horror movies all night, they have this poker game that these, like, fucking badass dudes go to. And so he, like, busts in on their poker game now as a demon after he's killed 2 of their boys, and they're like, what the fuck? And he's like, is it possible to enter the game with a pair of hearts? And then he has 2 fucking beating hearts in his hand. They're like, ah! And it's just chaos.
I see a picture
and he starts
of that
killing. He starts killing all of them, just like ripping their throats open with his claws and stuff.
So this sounds like a movie that potentially you could remake now, since they're hot on remakes.
I mean, I guess.
Would you be able to do the dial-up phone?
I mean, if they let me do the movie, then yeah, it'd be great, because I actually really like it. But if you have some other dickhead doing it, then no, it's probably gonna suck. But yeah, Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger directed this. Oh, okay. So that was another thing that's really interesting about it, is like he directed this film, and and his name is Hoax. Like the character's name is Hoax, which I thought was like fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Hoax.
But yeah, so yeah, that here you go. There it is.
Gotcha.
Right, two hearts.
Right.
It's so much fun. And he's so joyous when he says it, and that's what I like about demons. Demons have a sense of humor. I like anyone with a sense of humor. Like, I don't know. I'm into sense of humor. And so that's one thing I like about demons as an archetype and as like a villain, as a thing. They generally are kind of funny. They make jokes and puns and stuff.
Those demons.
I know. They're such tricksters. They're such little tricksters. Those little scamps running around.
Okay.
Running around.
That was pretty good. That was a really good self.
Robert Englund's 976 Evil.
Yeah.
The Changeling, like, we need to give a special shout out to George C. Scott for his score, because he made some really good horror movies. Okay, so like Exorcist III, The Changeling, and then A Christmas Carol really is kind of a ghost story.
That is,
He did that. Probably the best version of A Christmas Carol is George C. Scott's version.
Let's see what else he's done, because I think he's done some stuff. But yeah, George C. Scott's so funny as Kinderman in The Exorcist III. Like,
I mean, he's great in everything, but just like he actually kind of did
Firestarter.
More horror.
He's in Firestarter.
Yeah, he did more like horror and supernatural things than usually an actor of that level. Because I mean, he's an amazing actor. He's just so much fun to watch. I'm not saying The Changeling is like the best ghost story you're ever gonna watch, but it's like I just love watching George C. Scott act.
Yeah.
So it's like it's one of those things where it's like. Kind of like Hereditary. I said to you, I was like, no matter what this movie is, I just want to see Toni Collette act, and I'll be okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like and I was. You know what I mean?
She did a phenomenal job.
So we talked about Don't Look Now.
Yeah.
We talked about the Exorcist films. We talked about The Changeling.
Yeah.
Talked about Rosemary's Baby. Mm-hmm. And the other movie that it brought from was Burnt Offerings.
Burnt Offerings.
We need to talk about Burnt Offerings.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Where's the DVD for that? We had that earlier.
It's right over here.
I'll get it.
Yeah. So this movie, Josh turned me on to this movie. Because you found it on Netflix?
Maybe.
I think you found it on Netflix, and you were like, "Oh, you got to watch this movie." And I was like, "All right, I'm on it." Like
it's also on Amazon Prime right now too.
Yeah, but obviously we have similar tastes, so I'm like, okay, I'll listen to your opinion.
Actually, it's free on Amazon Prime right now.
It all began as a summer vacation. A young family found a beautiful old house. It had secluded, spacious grounds, a large swimming pool, magnificent furnishings.
So you are the people who want to rent this house?
What do you mean it's $900 and then it's all ours?
Well, there is one other thing. Hardly a catch.
They thought it was the answer to their dreams, but it was the beginning of a nightmare.
And so I watched it, and it's got Karen Black in it, who is awesome. Oliver Reed.
Another great horror, another great actress.
Yes. I mean, Betty Davis, hello.
Yeah.
And then Burgess Meredith. I mean, Burgess Meredith isn't in it a bunch, but he's in it, and I love it. I think it's fantastic.
I know Eileen Eckhart. I know she was a sister. I got to put her out there because she was a great actress too.
Yeah, Burnt Offerings is about a family, and they are kind of
much like Hereditary.
We have a family, and they're strapped, so they go. There's this really amazing listing for this house, and they go to this house, they check out the scene. It's huge. They're like, what's the deal? And they're like, oh, they tell them it's this fabulous price. It's this insane price. And they're like, what's the catch? And like, oh, well, our elderly mother is upstairs. You'll never see her. You just have to prepare a sandwich for her 3 times a day. And like, that's it. And she has
taking care of her the summer or something like that?
Yeah. And just take care of her and the place while you're here,
Because it's a huge, almost like a giant plantation type home.
Yeah,
like
it's
in
a big
giant
plantation
field.
like home. Yes,
Yeah.
It's huge, and so it has the big porches and all the stuff, and it's huge. I mean, it's a mansion. I mean, it's big. And so they agree to take it on, and as they take it on over the summer, like the place blossoms and blooms, But while this place is blooming and getting cleaner and nicer and more beautiful, these family members are being energetically drained. The grandmother is the first one to really feel it because she's like older and the most defenseless. And then it starts, it possesses the mother. The mom becomes possessed by some entity, whether it's actually the mother or some other thing. It's not really clear, but she's possessed by some entity that is connected to this house. The father and the son. I mean, it's like in the end, should we do the...
I don't know what time.
Let's just say that it's very similar to The Shining.
Well, it's very similar to Shining.
Very similar to Hereditary.
And it's also very similar to Hereditary.
Basically...
Well, when I first saw it, which was a couple years ago, I was shocked how similar it was to The Shining. And I did even research into it to find out, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Did Stephen King possibly...
Right. Was inspired?
Or even more than that, borrow a little too much.
Yeah.
And then I found out that this movie came out before The Shining.
Yes.
Before the book was written,
and
too.
this is also based on a book. Burnt Offerings is... I have not read the Burnt Offerings book, which I'd be interested in doing,
I would, too.
Yeah.
So I was doing, research into, haunted house movies. Like I was trying to see every haunted house movie. And I enjoyed this one. I mean, it's pretty dated, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Is the book called the book? If anyone out there is looking for the book, it might not be called Burnt Offerings. I'm not sure. I want to
say it is, but I'm not 100% sure.
It might not be the same title.
I'm not 100%. But Burnt Offerings, I really enjoyed it a lot. I think it's really cool, and I think
I did too. And it's like it's another slow burn.
I've got Burnt Offerings,
right?
1973, Van Valkant books. So
okay, so it is. The book is named Burnt Offerings.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a slow burn.
Yeah, but it's like we like slow burns. It's like the best. It's like it
takes its time.
Right, and that's how I think ghost stories need to be slow burns.
Yeah.
You kind of have to be lulled
you gotta get
into
pulled
them,
in.
Yeah, because that's how it works.
Yeah.
But it's not all at once. You don't, generally don't walk in the house and it's like horror show. It's like it's a little by little. It's things get.
Yeah.
The creepier, the longer you're in there.
Right.
The more powerful this entity grows. Feeding off of your energy or whatever it's doing.
Yeah, I don't think that this movie has a huge following.
It doesn't. And it's kind of a shame.
It is a shame because it's really good. And I also noticed another
Yeah.
shame is that it doesn't seem restored very well. Like a lot of the shots are very fuzzy, almost not out of focus, but just like the film is distressed.
Yeah, I don't think it's one of those things where I don't think they have the original stuff. They just have what they have. Whatever.
Still, what's there is much better than what it was. Because I have the DVD and that's much better. They definitely did the best that they could.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely watch it when you're gonna like chill and you know what I mean. Don't watch any of the movies we talked about. Don't think you're gonna get into a wham bam kind of explosions and kind of
No, it's not.
Annabelle 2. Okay, it's not jump scare city.
Yeah.
Get out of here. This is also a good summer horror movie because it takes place over the summer. So this is a perfect summer horror movie. Mm-hmm. So you guys should check that out.
Yeah.
I really like it a lot.
Sure.
I really like it.
And I'm
a
not
lot.
saying that either movie, The Shining or this movie, were ripping each other off. I just enjoy finding things that structurally are I mean, a lot of movies are structurally, very similar. It's movie structure.
I like all these emotes with the little fire around my head. Yes, those are great. Those are great.
Do we want to take some
keep
questions from the audience?
Yeah, let's take a few questions and then let's talk about Hereditary. I mean, do you want to take a few questions and take a 5-minute break and then talk about Hereditary?
No, let's take a 5-minute break right now. We will be back with
So get your questions ready.
Get your questions ready.